Hello, friends. I'm Chase Porter, and I'm running very behind, but today we're talking about Marvel Comics that came out last week, October 14th. Marvel, they had some heavy hitters. We got X of Swords, chapters 6, 7, and 8. The leader has made his move in Immortal Hulk, and the end of the Age of Khonshu. Welcome to the New Age Comics Podcast. Hello, listeners. I hope you're doing very well. I'm doing okay. We're doing all right here at New Age Comics Pod. My week, as usual, at this point, it's just customary. My week was very much a dumpster fire. Just crazy stuff. I say crazy like my life is very eventful, where it's very not. But very busy, doing lots of things, running around pretty much constantly, on the move at all times. But didn't stop me from reading comics. It kind of did stop me from reading comics because right now it is October 21st. Comics came out today. New comics came out today. And here I am talking about comics from a week ago. What the hell is that? Well, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. So I had a lot of comics drop last week. I had 13 drop. My idea was to split up the Marvel and DC comics into 2 episodes just to make them digestible, right? So I draft the DC script. I walk into the recording booth. I record it. I'm expecting about a half an hour of content here. I walk out with 2. 2 whole damn hours. That was way too much, but didn't really know what else to do with that. I got it down to about an hour, but too much talking. That's what I'm doing too much talking. I think so. I've been transitioning away from scripted pods and been doing like off the cuff stuff. Like right now I'm pretty much off the cuff. And while I really like my performance and my delivery now, I talk way too damn long. So that is something that I'm actively trying to remedy. And that's not as easy as it looks, but regardless, we are here and we're talking about Marvel Comics. I got caught up on all these Marvel Comics last night, so I was quite behind, but here I am to talk about them with you guys. I have about 6 comics here today. Marvel actually had a smaller week, and within this pod, we're also going to have the SUPRISE indie comic, which was featured in the last episode. It was 7 Secrets was the surprise. So boom, I just spoiled the surprise if you haven't listened to it. But if you want to check the 7 Secrets review or any of my DC comic thoughts from the week of October 14th, I already have it uploaded. You can go listen to it. But that is not what we're here for. We're here to talk about Marvel Comics. I need to keep it brief. So I have to have this episode at a half an hour. That is going to be a struggle. We're going to try. So I'm not going to waste a ton of your time here. Just quick plugs. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and follow me on wherever you're listening to me. I'm sure you can figure it out. You don't have to have me mansplain it to y'all. I'm also on Twitter at New Age Comics Pod. You can check me out there. Your support means the world to me. Go ahead and comment. Let me know what you think about some of these books that I'm going to be talking about here today. I want to know your thoughts on them. I really like talking with you guys, and I want to be able to include your thoughts in the show. So if you leave a comment saying you listened, I will shout you out in the next episode. How's that sound? Anywho, couple more things. Spoiler warning. I'm giving spoilers, full spoilers for all of these comics. So if you are listening, get ready to get spoiled on. Lastly, what am I drinking? I'm drinking a Red Bull, sugar-free, 8 ounce. And I'm drinking a Watermelon Body Armor Light, low calorie. Sweet. All right, that covers just about everything. So let us go in and start talking about some Marvel books from last week. So we're kicking off. This is the X Corner. I wanted to have like some pre-recorded like welcome to the X Corner or like something silly like that. I thought about getting Ian to do something, but alas, I was not able to accomplish that pre-production for this episode. However, since it's the X Corner, we're talking about all the X of Swords books that came out this week. We're currently in X of Swords land and it's very fun. I'm really digging it. Here we're talking about Hellions, issue number 5. Written by Zeb Wells, drawn by Carmen Carnero, and colors by David Curiel. So Hellions is part 6 of 22. Have to shout out how ridiculously long this comic book arc is, but I'm really liking it. I love X of Swords so far. Do not get me wrong. This is also a podcast first, which is also very exciting. But we kick off here, and this is, a Hellions issue. So it's going to take place around the Hellions. We open up. I don't know really what's going on so far because this is issue 5 and I don't have issues 1 through 4 read. Xavier, he's reviving this guy called Empath, just straight up revival mode. This is before everything is going on with the whole Resurrection Protocol getting canceled. But then throughout the issue here, it's Mr. Sinister's team, I guess. He's sort of the team leader. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not throughout the previous issues of this series. But Sinister has a plan. He wants to infiltrate Arakko, the opponents in this tournament. He wants to infiltrate them with his Hellions. That's, I guess, the mutant suicide squad, as some people have said. And he wants to steal the opposing team's swords and just kind of end the tournament because all the mutants are very sus about this whole cancellation of the Resurrection Protocol thing. They are very worried about it. So my thoughts on this issue, I actually really did dig this issue. Sinister is super hilarious throughout this entire issue. He was just had me cracking up left and right. I could have expected that. I haven't done a ton of like Sinister reading. I don't know a lot about Mr. Sinister. I pretty much only know some things here and there, like through some events that I've read just left and right. Nothing that was super Sinister centered. Say that 5 times fast. But another is Sinister is a schemer. He is very, very schemy. Just, I guess that's his whole thing in a nutshell. But he is completely in schemer mode here as he is developing this whole plan to just kind of blow this whole tournament just away. And I don't know. My guess is that they're trying to steal the swords so they either can't participate or so they won't participate. Maybe there's not much of a difference, but like, what if they realized, like, they just stole our swords, that's against the rules, now you guys lose? I don't know. There's not a lot of rules here going on. But the Hellions, I have to say, is a very interesting and unique team comp. I really like how it's villains and heroes, right? So you got Havoc and you got Psylocke on there. But then you also have randoms, like, let me find the little credits page. You got people like Orphan Maker and Wild Child and Grey Crow. These all sound like very like auto-generated names. But to continue on, I really did like a lot of things about this issue. There's a really funny scene with Sinister, and he is bickering with one of his clones. I found that very hilarious. And they're arguing on who's going to actually end up going to Arakko. And they do a noble contest, and you can guess what that noble contest is. It's rock, paper, scissors. That was very funny. And then, of course, another point of hilarity in this issue is Mr. Sinister's illustrious and very extra cape, his precious cape, which he ends up having to trade just to even enter this. Where are they at again? So that's also the thing. They're like walking around the entire other world, which is like this whole, it has like 10 realms or something like that. Ahar, of course, 10 realms. And I think they go to Avalon. I think that's what it's called. They go to Avalon, which is like the land of sorcery and monarchy. That's the only way I could really describe it. And they have to do a trade just as a symbol of like fairness. And Sinister has to trade his cape. It was all very funny. Sinister is certainly the show stealer in this issue. Although I will say I wanted more Psylocke, because I really like Psylocke. I think she's really cool. And we got kind of clickbaited a little bit by this cover and her camel toe on the cover. No, her camel toe is not that bad, although it is noticeable. but geez. Okay. Anyway, I wanted more Psylocke. We didn't get her. But my guess is that she is one of the champions. I mean, she's a sword wielder after all. So that kind of is to be seen. But this issue really didn't actually go where I expected in the end. I was anticipating like a Marauders type story where it's like a one and done, like issue starts, you meet your champion, and by the end of the issue, they're, standing on the circle doing their thing. However, this is not how this issue kind of goes on. They pretty much enter Avalon. They get some horses, and then they actually just start waltzing through Avalon. It ends with Mr. Sinister singing. He has a new cape because he just had to trade his own. It's like this really cool grass cape. I actually really do like it. He should make it his new cape from now on. But yeah, this issue kind of took me for a loop where I didn't expect it to go. I thought it would end this issue, and it really didn't. So I liked that it kind of kept me on my toes and that it gave us that continuing story feeling, because as much as I do like the Marauders type one-shots, I really do appreciate how they make the reading necessary. I think as readers, we would all be more upset if each issue was a one-shot, because then we'd be like, okay, we don't have to buy every issue then. However, this issue itself lends to the idea that this is an event and you got to read it all. My only complaint is there wasn't any sword fighting in this issue, but I can learn to live without that. And a new thing I'm doing on this pod is I'm going to be giving scores. I'm going to be giving a little score, just trying it out for this time. So I am giving Hellions issue number 5 a 7 out of 10. I really did like it. It was very funny, and I enjoyed the ride while it was here. I do like the Hellions team, so can't wait to see how this scheme goes. I wonder if they're going to actually get the swords or if anyone is going to die while over there, because then they're SOL. So very exciting. We'll have to keep reading. Moving forward, so that was part 6 of X of Swords. Now we're in part 7, and that is with New Mutants, issue number 13, written by Ed Bryson and drawn and colored by the amazing Rod Rice. This is yet another podcast first. That's just kind of gonna be how the X of Swords event goes here at New Age Comics, because I'm only reading a couple. So we're going to have a few podcasts first here. You can expect one next week. And then actually after next week, after I do Excalibur, I think I will have hit them all. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is the New Mutants, the young mutants, the young team. We open up this issue, Magic. You all know Magic, the Ilana Rasputin, something like that. She's sitting there. She's being kind of emo. She's being kind of stoic, looking off over the sunset. She alerts Cable to this whole event right afterwards, which that is a bit of a teaser for the next comic I will be talking about here, a Hardy Har. But this issue kind of focuses on 2 champions, coolly enough, because we're talking about Magic and we're also talking about Cypher. Cypher is one of the champions, and he's getting used to his buddy Warlock. You all know Warlock. The how does he says self is not happy. Blah blah blah. He is Cypher's sword, which is pretty badass. He has been Cypher's like arm throughout the whole Hoxpox Hickman stuff. I haven't been reading New Mutants, so I don't really know what the whole revelation is with that. But that is where Cypher's at. He's getting used to Warlock being his sword. I really do love Warlock in this issue. Then we get some sparring between Magic and Cypher, seeing as they're both New Mutants, they're both champions, so they're going to do a little bit of sword fighting here. It's a soul sword, which is Magic's sword, versus the Warlock sword, aka Magic versus Cypher. I really do like their sparring. It's very fun. You can guess that Magic kicks Cypher's ass. But some more stuff throughout this issue. Krakoa, which is only being able to be communicated with because of Cypher, because that's Cypher's whole thing. Krakoa does not want Doug to go. He does not want Cypher to go over and pretty much risk dying. Krakoa probably knows he's going to get his little ass beat. So Krakoa wants to sub out Cypher for a different champion in the tournament. And on that topic, we have another person who would rather take Cypher's place, and that is Exodus. Exodus gives him a little threat, roughs him up a little bit, I guess you could say, saying he wants to be the new champion. He wants to take his place. And that is kind of where we end this issue off. It is sort of a getting ready issue for Magic and Cypher. By the end, of course, they're standing in the circle. I would like to know the name of this circle. I keep referring to it all the time, and I really don't know what it's called. And I would like to refer to it as something other than just the circle. But my thoughts on this issue, I really did enjoy this issue. In fact, this might be, and this is going to sound crazy given my level of Audible enthusiasm, this is probably my favorite issue of X of Swords so far. I mean, and it's kind of not fair. Part of me wants to say, well, I really liked the Wolverine X-Force combo, but that's not fair because it's 2 issues. In terms of singular issues, this might be my favorite issue so far. I love the story here. It's very grounded in giving us like some lore because it's just talking about like what Krakoa's thinking about Doug, what Magic's thinking, what Doug is doing. Like we get 2 swordsmen here. We also get the drama with Krakoa. And so it's very grounded in like the current lore of Dawn of X, but then it's also progressive of the event because obviously there's 2 swordsmen and they're getting ready. Like last issue, we had just 2 or 3. Yeah, we just had 3 people standing on the thing. And now we know a little bit more about one of those 3 and we have a 4th. If that's not progress, I don't know what is. Also, a plus for this issue is it's not very dense. It is not the densest comic ever. The Hellions was pretty dense. This is not that dense, and the art is just totally spectacular. I love Rod Rice's art. I seriously think I could read like anything that he did. Like I would buy his comics just for the art alone, which is ironic because I know he has been doing New Mutants this whole time and I just have been skipping out. I suck. However, I love the sword fighting in this comic. It was very fun. I'm glad that in X of Swords we're getting, swords fighting and swords clashing. That's obviously we need some of that. And from a storytelling perspective, I really do like how Doug got picked to be a champion. He makes the perfect like underdog that we can all kind of anxiously watch as they do the tournament fight. None of us really know what this tournament fight is kind of going to look like and be like at the moment. Maybe some of y'all do. I do not know what it's going to look like. So I'm going to be watching very anxiously at Doug. I'm going to be very worried for Doug because I think he's going to get, his shit clapped. That's just kind of my assumption. But I love that they're taking that angle. And I also really do like the angle of Krakoa protecting Doug. I do wonder, is it out of selfishness or compassion? Okay, because it could be selfish because Krakoa can't communicate with anybody without Cypher. Or, and this is me having not read any of the other New Mutants issues, but could that feeling be a feeling of compassion because Krakoa and Doug are now like homies? See, I don't know those details. That's what I rely on you guys for. The listener base. You guys need to let me know what the deal is with this. But overall, I really, really liked this issue. Like I said, probably my favorite X of Swords issue so far. And I got to give it a 9 out of 10 because this was just such a joy to read. I was sitting in the coffee shop reading it and literally wouldn't put it down even though I was late to work. So 9 out of 10. Maybe for the art alone, but also because the story was just wonderfully paced and made some really interesting choices that are going to be very exciting to keep watching down the line for this event. Moving into the last corner of the X corner, I suppose, this is X of Swords, part 8 of 22. And this is Cable, issue number 5, written by Gary Duggan, and drawn and colored by the Phil Noto extraordinaire. So yes, part 8 of 22. This is yet another podcast first. Woohoo! We're all very excited for the podcast first here. But we're here. It's Cable. It's young Cable, okay? So this is a whole like new recent thing. Cable's a young whippersnapper. And this issue is kind of touching on something that I think was last touched on in the X of Swords creation event, because I believe it showed Cable up on the sword station, right? Or the peak, as they call it. And he's up there with his mom and dad, right? It feels so weird to call him mom and dad because we're so much used to the Cable being old relationship with Scott and Jean. But Cable, Scott, and Jean, they're all up on the sword station, and they're wondering where the hell everyone's at. I guess it's just completely dead. If you remember from the creation issue, Cable like stabbed his sword, some sword, into this ball I don't really know what it is. It's some key thing, and it kind of powered on the whole station. They find out from this very friendly dead guy that's kind of just wandering around. Him and Jean have a little conversation, and there is this like essentially a nether portal, like Minecraft, total Minecraft mood, a nether portal that is, I guess, transporting these, I don't know, monsters or something called the Viscora, and they're coming through onto this sword station, and they're only referring to them as the Faceless Death, which is quite edgy. But they find this portal, and then the family has a little smackdown. They do a little fight with this Faceless Death squad. I don't know, they kind of look like, I don't know, like spacemen, but if they were like Alien versus Predator tech, I'm not really sure. But the whole family, they fight the Viscora. It's a whole little fun romp. And then Cable is able to turn off the power, I believe, for the whole sword station by, subsequently kind of unsheathing his sword and drawing his sword, which is kind of a little cool nuance put in there. But he takes his sword out of this key thing, and then boom, bada bing, bada pow. He is now ready to fight in this competition. The sword is called the Light of Galador. And Cable himself tried to casually retcon the name to the Light of Krakoa. But that is kind of where the issue ends here. My thoughts on the issue, it was quite the fun issue. It felt very Duggan, very Gary Duggan. It felt very Gary Duggan. I don't know why exactly I feel that way. I've read a good handful of Duggan stuff, and I don't know, it just kind of, I got that vibe from it. Duggan makes really fun issues that have generally a lot of action, but also can have very serious moments. And I don't know, this just felt like a classic Duggan type issue. I really liked the family dynamics throughout this comic. That was always fun to read, like, because it's the classic Cyclops Jean Cable relationship, but if it was like normal, because now he's a kid. So now there can genuinely be that like fraternal dynamic between Cable and his dad, and that maternal dynamic between Jean and Cable, which is very interesting to read. The Viscora here were pretty cool. They had hella nether portal energy, like 8 obsidian blocks and then flint and steel, the whole thing. Total Minecraft mood, but it was still very cool. I did enjoy that. I really like kind of the the way that they handle the fight between them. Because it's essentially Jean just says like, let it rip, Scott. What did she say actually? She says, Scott, don't hold back. And he does not. He just hits him with the Zark, like lasers all of them. It's a very cool scene because they're all just like pouring out of this portal, and Scott is just going ham. But then, alas, they kind of shut it all down, which is very good. I wonder if the Viscora is going to come back. It's going to be either A, something in the Sword comics, or B, something in the Cable comics that are to come. My guess is it's going to be in the Sword stuff, but I think that might be because, what if Cable's on the Sword team? I don't really know. I know Al Ewing is writing the upcoming Sword comic, so it is really like, well, we'll kind of just have to wait and see here. But I also thought it was interesting at the end, there is this little conversation telepathically between Scott, Jean, and Magic, where they ask Magic to just keep an eye on Cable. Just keep an eye on him. That's what Jean hits her with. And she says, well, of course. And I'm wondering why. Like, what's the deal with this? I feel like this is some subtle foreshadowing here. And then lastly, at the end, Cable, this is like the last panel, very sus panel. Cable asks his dad, why is everyone smiling? And he just says, because we're going to be okay. Like, what the fuck? Sus ass alert. Things are not going to be okay alert. If someone is saying, we'll be okay, you can bet that they're not going to be okay. Overall, I did like this issue. Got to give it probably about a 7 out of 10 here. I did enjoy the whole Cable dynamic. I thought I wouldn't really dig it as much just because I'm not a fan of young Cable. I like old Cable. I want him back. And I guess he will be back. But it was very fun, very Duggan. I am usually not a huge fan of Phil Noto's art, but here he did not bother me as much. Maybe I need to reevaluate my opinion on Phil Noto. But overall, really did dig this issue. So here we are with the surprise indie issue. Surprise! This is an indie issue. and this is Bloodshot issue number 9, written by Tim Seeley, drawn by Mark Lamming, Jason Masters, and colors by Andrew Dahlhaus. This is Bloodshot. You all know Bloodshot, the recent Hollywood star Bloodshot, and we're getting back into the Tim Seeley arc here. And this is actually seemingly the end of an arc, or end of a general story arc. I think some of these elements will remain a thing into the preceding issues. However, now I'm getting ahead of myself. In this issue, I won't recap a ton, but essentially there are these humongous kaiju monsters, like total Ultraman vibes, kaiju stuff. They're attacking this Russian town. This was all the plot of a organization called the Burned. They used Bloodshot's nanites to activate all these monsters, send them out, and now Bloodshot is working with Black Bar, another organization that he's not very close with. They are all working to try and stop these monsters. Bloodshot is in the fray. He's fighting all of these monsters left and right. He's fighting Black Bar. He's fighting the Burned. He's fighting Nyx, who is the leader of the Burned. It is just crazy. A lot's going down. He's fighting lots of people, clearly. This is like a Bloodshot versus everybody right now. And yeah, like I said, this is kind of the end of the arc. Everything is sort of colliding here. And ultimately, I thought this issue was a blast. The art for the monster designs was very cool. I have to say, in general, I think the art here is just okay. I do like the art. I think there are some panels that just are, could use a little more attention, a little more detail. I think Bloodshot's design in some cases could use a little more attention, but I think maybe clearly some of the attention was taken away to make these monsters look so damn cool, because the monster panels here are really sick. Like I said, it's total kaiju vibes. And there is this scene later through while Bloodshot is fighting all these huge monsters, and he punches one in the eye. It does all the sound effects like splurk and all of that stuff. And Bloodshot gets pummeled into a pulp. It's actually very insane. They not only do they cut him in half and he's laying there dying, but then they step on him, and that's when I say pulp, because he's really pummeled to just a pile of guts. It's really insane, and that is a moment where I'm this art is really good. But then we turn around and there's some kind of just awkward looking panels here and there. Not I'm really not trying to say the art is bad or anything, but there were some little nitpicks, I guess, that you could say I had. And one thing I was actually a little confused about in the middle of the issue here is how did Bloodshot get transferred to Nyx's place? Because we just see him get like I said, pulverized into mist, and then he wakes up in this I don't know, sewer, and he's hanging out with Nyx all of a sudden. I don't know what the deal was with that. It's a little confusing. There is some stuff here later with a body double. They keep talking about some body double later, which also kind of goes over my head a tad. My guess is that it has something to do with that. But the fight here between Bloodshot and Nyx has some pretty crazy moments. There is one shot, frankly, where Bloodshot just shoots his hand off. Doesn't even shoot his hand off. He shoots his hand into a pulp, into a mist, to reuse some words here. And that is a very crazy panel. There are also actually some cool cameos throughout this issue. We get a little bit of Neville action. I love me some Neville. And then we actually get to see Roku in a panel here, which was also very oh, okay, a little Roku. She didn't have a line or anything like that. However, her image was invoked. So we got to win here, boys. But more on this being kind of the finale here. Bloodshot, he kicks Nyx's ass. In fact, he fucking kills him. So yeah, spoiler warning. I already gave you a shout out, but he kills Nyx here, which is so insane. He actually burns him hardy har, very hardy har. Little on the nose, but he does kill Nyx here. So that is kind of the end of this arc to some degree. Sort of why I'm saying the end of something here, the end of the Burned, which ultimately very cool. I did dig the whole Burned stuff. I would honestly to see it a little more. down the line if like the Burn stayed around, but just without Nyx. But while he is killing him, there is actually this interesting panel with like a, I don't know, like a machine or something that's like clicking and clerking, and it's really like vague. We're not supposed to really know what's going on. But then by the end here, Bloodshot, he like kills Nyx and he's just chilling. He tears something out of his body. I don't really know what it is. Probably some burned thing that I just do not quite remember. And then someone contacts him and is like, oh, hey, you need to get the hell out of here and return from wherever the hell you are, because Project Rising Spirit is back. What? Like, I mean, maybe that's not like a what, but still is very crazy. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have been defunct throughout this whole series so far, but that just goes to show how many goddamn like organizations there are. There are too damn many. But overall, this was kind of the end of this whole, Burns, Black Bar kind of stuff here, because clearly the next arc is going to be very focused on something else, obviously Rising Spirit. And that next arc is actually called One Last Shot, which is also going to be Tim Seeley's last arc, I believe, which makes me very curious. Are they going to be taking it over with a new writer? Are they going to actually just be canceling the series or ending it off? I don't really know. Overall, though, I am going to give this issue a 7 out of 10. I did dig this issue a lot, even though it had some weirder kind of just like meh moments for me. I still really did enjoy it. I thought it had a lot of fun stuff here with, nanites and monsters and Bloodshot getting pummeled. You always love seeing that. And I liked Nyx's arc in the end. So gonna give it a 7. And I can't wait to start the One Last Shot. It will be very exciting. So that was a fun little journey into the indie corner. What a fun indie corner. But now we're back in the Marvel, I don't know, what's the opposite of a corner, like the rest of the room? We're back in the Marvel room, and we're talking about Avengers 37, written by Jason Aaron, drawn by Javier Garrón, and colors by Jason Keith. We are in the Age of Khonshu. The Age of Khonshu. It is very intense, very crazy. I've talked about Age of Khonshu, I think, twice before on this podcast. And if you have listened, I think it's okay. I just think it's kind of like it could be better, could be worse, but it could be better. It is what it is. But talking about this issue, this is the conclusion, part 5 of the Age of Khonshu. Last time, big spoiler for the last issue. So giving you that warning right here. If you don't want it spoiled, skip out and go read the last issue. But in the last issue, Mark, he bonded with the Phoenix Force. Very insane. I don't know if anyone was really expecting that. That was certainly out of nowhere for me. But this issue kind of just serves as the end of the Age of Khonshu. The Avengers, they're fighting Khonshu in space, like Khonshu himself, right? Not Mark. They're fighting Khonshu in space. Mark, he gives Khonshu a good old sock down to Earth. And then the Avengers are able to take back the cosmic powers that Khonshu has actually hoarded throughout this little arc. And then they kind of throw things back to the status quo. Bada bing, bada boom. End of the reign of Khonshu. So that's a very abridged review, or a recap, I should say. But first off, I have to express, and as I do every time I talk about this comic, I am a humongous Moon Knight fan. Like, I am Moon Knight. That's what I have written in my notes here, that I'm literally Moon Knight. I'm not Moon Knight, right? I hope I'm not Moon Knight. However, I fucking love Moon Knight. And so this arc meant a lot to me in symbolism, you could say, or just in general. I was very excited to watch some crazy Moon Knight shit happen. Moon Knight versus the Avengers. How am I not going to be excited? However, this arc was disappointingly just okay. Just okay. Not bad. I'm not trying to hop on here and say like this arc is garbage, blah, 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 because it's not. But it was just a little, I don't know. In the end, it was a little too outlandish for Mooney, I think. Just too crazy. Moon Knight is not one of those heroes to do some like crazy cosmic stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, as much as I love Khonshu being out here and Moon Knight, with the Phoenix Force and everything, it's all very fun. However, like, what on earth, and I hate when people say this. It's like the whole, I guess, just like comic conservatism thing that like comics should just stay what they like. A hero should just stay what they were when they were created. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, but this is just a step too far for me. Like, I get characters, they want to take them new places and stuff, but when Moon Knight was created, I don't think Doug Monk, or however you say his name, intended Moon Knight to, be this cosmic being and cosmic force. And, there's the whole God thing. I get it. But personally, for me, it was just a little too outlandish. But I will say, all of that aside, Phoenix Mooney is badass. Like, I actually kind of dig Phoenix Moon Knight. I really like the gold trim, and for my classic Moon Knight fans out there, it gives us a little nod to the Fist of Khonshu miniseries that came back in, I think, the 80s. The little gold outfit, not a gold trim, but they got the gold plating, and back in the day, there was some gold stuff on him. I really did like all that. And I liked how Moon Knight just like blasted Khonshu with his Phoenix punch and just shot him back down to earth. And then after that, we get the scene where they kind of seal the deal on Khonshu. They take away all the powers he's gathered up throughout this event here. And interestingly, Ghost Rider has like a specific scene where he says, "Ghost Rider, Daddy's home," and it's Robbie Reyes taking it back. I wonder if that's going to have some significance later. Like, they devoted a whole scene to it. So are they going to, is there going to be some Ghost Rider shit later? We already got the race of the Ghost Riders, Ghost Racers. I don't know. So we will have to wait and see on that. But I will say, on some cringery, cringery. I don't know. It's not really cringe, but I just was not a fan of the Iron Hulk and Blade, the Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know, man. It was too Infinity Warp flashbacks for me. I'm just not into the whole. I don't know. I'm just not into the whole like, let's just like jam every hero together into some like amalgamous thing. I don't know. I'm not really into it. I think it was a little neat just for the one page, right? Because that's really all they were doing it for. Just one page of Iron Fist Hulk and Blade with the little circle things around his hands. But I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I'm not super into that kind of stuff. And ultimately, this comic does commit one of my bigger pet peeves, which is just status quo, hard as hell. They hit that status quo way too fast. For me, that's just one of my kind of pet peeves. I get it. If you're doing something just insane, then you need to wrap it up in one issue, you kind of just got to wrap it up. And I get that. But I don't know, the old like Avengers arcs, like some of the first arcs of this run, they were big and insane, but they didn't like status quo that quickly for me. Yes, they would status quo, but it was never like, yup, and now everything's done. Like, this whole Age of Khonshu thing had like, it was like event level in terms of what was happening, right? Like, we can all imagine an event where Moon Knight kind of takes over. Like, if you apply the actual events of this arc, it could so easily be translated into a publishing wide event. But however, they didn't do that. And so I don't know, it just kind of feels a little anticlimactic when you have to like wrap it up all in just like a panel. But an insane scene that we get actually here. This might be the page that kind of makes up the comic just a tad for me. Was there's this page where Moon Knight is floating above Earth and he's got the Phoenix abilities like holding him up there, and he literally contemplates destroying the planet. Like, and he even says like I considered genocide. And he did. He considered literally just obliterating the planet. You with the whole mantra of like, so much pain, so much suffering that will now be not. But I thought that was just kind of cool. I like how they pushed that like psychological angle with Moon Knight. I think that's what us Moon Knight fans were looking for. And then Thor, of course, had to come and give him a good old like wallop. And I liked that. That was very funny. Okay, though. So, yeah, Age of Khonshu is all wrapped up. However, the Phoenix is around. The Phoenix left Mark just in a little crater. And now the Phoenix is running around. And apparently there's some shit with the Phoenix and Wolverine. I mean, I guess we really don't know. But they have a little tease here at the end with Jean Grey saying, it's not here for me this time. And Wolverine is like, well, I'm doing something about it, and gives us 2 snicks, right? So Wolverine's in the fray now, maybe. I mean, I think we're all kind of a little excited for this Enter the Phoenix arc. So I'm a bit excited here. That's kind of the shits about this Avengers run, is even when there's like a kind of a weak arc, the next arc is like a different story, which is cool in some sense, because then I can just maybe expect the next arc to pick up in a new place for me and kind of restore my passion in the series, you could say. But I don't know. It's sort of one of those things we'll have to wait and see. This run is getting pretty long. It's like 37 issues now, and I have been reading since issue 1. Humble flex there, but I've been digging it. I really have been enjoying the Avengers run so far. However, this arc let me down a little bit, not only because it's the Avengers by Jason Aaron, but it was also Moon Knight, and it kind of just went a little too outlandish for me. But in the end, I got to give it a 5 out of 10, just for the full arc, and maybe this issue, a 5 out of 10. There were things I really did like about it, liked things, I don't know, here and there, but ultimately, it's not going to be an arc I return to or anything. But nonetheless, love Moon Knight, and I love this Avengers run. So very excited for Enter the Phoenix. Last issue here for this episode, we are talking about the horror book extraordinaire, Immortal Hulk, issue number 38, written by Al Ewing and drawn by Joe Bennett with colors by Paul Mounts. Are you guys ready for horror nightmare land? That's how I have to walk into every single issue of this series, because it is just so like it is very just like, oh my God. But moving in, Immortal Hulk, I don't even really need to say anything about it. This is an iconic series at this point. This series is also at 38, talking about how long the Avengers was going on. This is going on even an issue longer. So very iconic at this point. Immortal Hulk, I think it's still the best-selling comic on the stands right now. That's all very good. In this issue, the Shadow Gang, right, the Shadow Base Gang, they are in the grapples of the leader, who is scheming harder than ever, harder than Mr. Sinister, as a little callback. And right now he is working to take control of like every Gamma guy. And oh my God, it's just so crazy. But namely right now, he's taken control of Rick Jones and that Dr. Del Fry guy. He's working to take control of all of them. And he is also inside of Bruce's head throughout this issue. They're in the what do they call it? Let me find it here. The inner world is what they're calling like his inside head. And that's the thing. Leader is in his head. He's dragging Hulk, the Hulk. He's dragging him around by chains. Bruce and Joe Fixit, they're all chained up. This is like a personality war all in Bruce's head. It's very like abstract, but still just like super crazy. It's mental, literally and figuratively. It is mental. But this issue, I very much loved this issue. I thought this issue gave me, oh God, it just gave me chills in many, many moments. It opens up with this really cool thing with Bruce reading Paradise Lost. And subsequently, it's a childhood memory, so you can expect his father is there, and he's being a trauma machine. And this dad scene is fucked. Like, it is so fucked. I don't even know. Ewing is so good at writing just these, like, so, I don't know, like, emotionally touching moments, because you just, like, feel your heart rate pick up as you read these first couple pages with his dad straight up abusing Bruce. It is just, oh my God, I can't wax about it enough, but it's super fucked. I think this Paradise Lost connection is also really cool. I like how Ewing, he's a smarty. He's writing some really smart stuff. Like, he's connecting literature just throughout history, and he actually plays up there's this page that they specifically show of the serpent in the serpent and Eve, the whole apple, right? The original sin. They play off of that into kind of this like interesting childhood trauma that Bruce like internalized, that kind of manifested into this serpent creature becoming like another personality, I guess, within Bruce, becoming like the demon in him, right? Which there's a ton of parallels here with him being like Devil Hulk, right? And of course, it's the serpent offering the apple to Bruce. And this is what I'm saying. Ewing is writing so smartly, and it's just such a joy to read. Like, it's very layered. I feel like this is one of those runs that can be like analyzed, which is just so cool considering it's gone on for so long. Like, you know, you can expect that kind of like analysis and nuance in limited series, right? Like a Watchmen type example where it's all very layered and very thought out from beginning to end. But this is an ongoing series, and Ewing is still writing these like really interesting moments. So for that, Ewing just deserves insane praise, and he does. He's selling the hell out of these books. But the leader in this issue, he's dummy evil. Like, he is crazy evil. It is so cool. He's also like Planet Hulk mode, which is very interesting. I don't know exactly what explains that. I think the whole idea is that, I guess that's only in Bruce's head. Okay, so it's not like literal Planet Hulk type swag, but he still's got the swag. He's got the spiked arm and all of that stuff. But the leader, he's acting very evil, very schemy, and like, as a notable scene, Hulk is getting dragged around on a chain just by the leader, and Hulk is literally like calling for his daddy. And that was like scarring. I don't know why. That was just so like, I don't know. It made me so like, just, I don't know, uncomfortable, I guess. Not uncomfortable, but I was just like, oh my God, the Hulk is literally calling for daddy. Like, it sets the power struggle between the leader and the Hulk to just a new level. Like, someone that can make the Hulk like cry like that. And then it's even more fucked because then the leader says, your daddy's right here. And he just like, just hits the shit out of Hulk. Just like, oh my God. I mean, there's the layers right there because that's the trauma that Bruce has gone through, his dad being just hella abusive. But like, this is what I'm saying, that Immortal Hulk has just been killing it with all the nuance and all the story lately. It is something to absolutely marvel at. There's also this scene later that I have to give like infinite praise to Joe Bennett. I think he's the one who makes this series. Like, this series would be nothing without Joe Bennett. So sorry, Al Ewing, you're doing a great job. But Joe Bennett, he's taken this to another level. And there's a scene later where the Dr. McGowan, right? The girl doctor that they kind of inducted into their little squad. She is in Shadow Base. And she ends up using the like teleporter or whatever it is, like the transponder teleporter. She uses it to like cut Rick Jones in half. And this page right here is like an artistic masterpiece, like one of the like most notable sketches I think Joe Bennett has done in this series so far. I do not say that lightly because it's Joe Bennett and it's Immortal Hulk. So he's been doing crazy awesome shit this whole time. But you think he cares? No, he's going to do himself over again and again. He's going to do the next best thing. And that is this page. I'm looking at it right now, and it is horrifying because you see like the cross section of his whole body. And it's Rick Jones. So if you've been reading this series, you know Rick Jones is very deformed right now. Like, he's this weird, you couldn't even describe it. His body is deforming in like dozens of ways. And so to watch his body get cut in half, like cross sections like that, I can't wax about it like enough. That page jaw dropped me. You know, when you're reading a comic and you just flip the page and boom, there you go, your jaw's on the floor. That was me. That was me reading this comic. Anywho, so the leader, he is taken Hulk around, and at the end here, we get the serpent coming out, the serpent demon badass thing. Wow. This issue was so insane. Like, I have to give this issue like a 9 out of 10. I'm serious. This issue was so freaking cool. I couldn't believe some of the, I don't know, just like not only the artistic moments, but the story moments in this issue were just so crazy. Like, you know, sometimes I'll forget kind of what's going on in Immortal Hulk because it is all very like abstract and stuff. But I will not forget this issue. That's how I will put that. This issue just rocked my shit. So absolutely adored this issue. I'm loving Immortal Hulk so much, and I cannot wait to watch this lizard demon serpent badass thing just kick the shit out of the leader. That's going to be so fun next issue. And the cover for the next issue, that Alex Ross covers just make me so hard. But yes, loving Immortal Hulk so far, and it is deserving of all the praise. And that does it for me this week. Wow, I went way over time here. I basically have about 30 more minutes left in my like podcast allowance is what we call it in the biz. No, but I have about 30 more minutes left for this month, and I did over 30 minutes. I'm sitting at about an hour here. Hopefully I can cut some of it down. My guess is going to be a little longer than a half hour. So I hope that is okay for you people out there. But this was a fun week in Marvel Comics. I apologize for getting it out kind of unsynchronously, right? Like I did not get this episode out near the time of the DC episode. In fact, I'm about to leave this podcast and go buy new comics. So it all starts over again. It's like tears lost in rain. I just recently watched Blade Runner, so apologize for that. But I had a blast this week. I really tried something different here with the scores and with trying to do quick notes. So let me know what you guys think. Like I'm trying to iron out the style here. So any critique of my style or how I should be delivering some of these reviews, I'm open to hear it. And that's pretty much all I got to say. If you have made it to this point in the podcast, thank you so much. I love you to death. Your attention and your listening means the world to me. I love that there's somebody out there listening to this jackass talk about comics. So absolutely, if you want to share your thoughts on some of these comics, please share them with me in the comment section or find me on Twitter and you can share them with me there. I'm on Twitter at New Age Comics Pod, and I'm on every podcast app that you can think of. And if I'm not, let me know and I will get up on that app. That is going to do it for me this week, you guys. I will see you in the next week. I'm going to go buy some comic books right now. So I will be tweeting about that very shortly, likely before I even release this episode. So a little weird inception there, but that's enough out of me. I will talk to you guys in the next week. Have a wonderful week and read some comics. Why don't you? All right. See you guys.